Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren, aka BooksMcD, and I haven't done a video in a minute. It's been about 2 months. I've just kind of been sitting on a topic that I didn't really know how to talk about. It's cancer. Cancer is a bitch, and it's a bitch to talk about, and I'm so glad I waited for the holiday times to talk about this. So the two books I wanted to talk about and review are Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. A friend lent me this book and I was able to read it and cry my eyeballs out. And then the second book is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. Both books deal with the two people's mothers having cancer. They are very different books. They both deal with that mother-daughter relationship, some emotional abuse. I would say if it's on a spectrum, though. I'm Glad My Mom Died deals with that in the extreme, and Crying in H Mart deals with some light, motherly perfectionism and stuff like that. It's like from overbearing helicopter parent mother, but it's like loving, relatively loving, to like just straight up emotional abuse. So that's the spectrum we're on right now. I'm going to try to do brief non-spoilers before I just launch into spoilers and like stream of conscious thought. I do try to sort my thoughts, but let's be honest, they just come out. So the first book, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. It's her memoir about her mother dying of cancer and caring for someone with cancer and the aftermath of losing someone to cancer. Most people probably know Michelle Zauner as the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast. I had never heard of her before this book, but I heard amazing things about the book, and so I wanted to read it, and that's kind of how I came to know Michelle Zauner and her story. I was not prepared, I think, for the level of detail about cancer in the book. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're interested in reading this book. It's definitely a tearjerker. It was upsetting to me because it is so detailed, and nothing against Michelle Zauner, it's her story, but it's a lot to read. And I have had relatives who have had cancer, but it's definitely different depending on the different types. But I've never been the caregiver to those people, and I think hearing the details of like what that's like emotionally and just what it's like physically, it was really hard to read. Additionally, it kind of talks a bit about the aftermath, like what it's like to deal with after somebody dies and maybe having to go through some things or sell a house or, it was a lot. It was definitely emotional. I think that it made me think of my mom a lot and I really wanted to call her after and just talk and talk and talk. But I will say, totally worth the read. Definitely a tearjerker. It is pretty graphic, so just be aware of that in terms of the physical ailment of cancer and what that's like to watch somebody go through. But definitely worth the read. I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Definitely worth reading. Tissues. Get a lot of tissues. The second book, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. Also 100% worth reading. I'll just say that straight out the gate. This was so good. I think I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. 100% should read this book. But please be aware, this book deals with Jennette's time as a child actor at Nickelodeon, her mom's extreme emotional abuse toward achieving that dream or that goal, and Jennette's experience with eating disorders. So you should definitely be aware before reading this book that it contains all of that stuff. Not to mention Jennette dealing with her mom having cancer. So there is kind of a plethora of triggers in this book that, you should be aware of kind of before diving into it. It's kind of hard for me to comment on memoirs. I did just say that I rated these and 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 stars respectively, but it's kind of difficult to rate a memoir. It's literally these person's lives. It's their truth. You can't really comment on not liking somebody's life story. Maybe you can comment on well, I don't really like the way it was edited or presented or something like that, but in terms of not liking somebody's story, okay, so it's just awkward talking about memoirs. This is literally people's lives, so it's a little awkward talking about, but definitely, in my opinion, worth reading if that's worth anything. And I will say this, in terms of commenting on a memoir and how it's presented, Jennette McCurdy is funny. She is really funny, and I don't know if she even intended this to be funny. I know that humor can be like a coping mechanism for people. I know it is for me, and I know it is for like a lot of people. So I don't know if she like intended for this to be funny, but like some of the stories, the way they're presented in her memoir, are so like dead. Like I don't know that deadpan's the right word, but they're so like just presented as fact, but it's almost like you can't make this shit up. Like that's how they're presented. Like and this happened, and it's like you can't make this shit up, you know. So it the way she presents it, and sometimes like the things that juxtapose each other, but like she didn't make it up. It's like literally something happens, and this isn't a spoiler because I feel like she talks about this in interviews a lot, but literally something happens, her mom sends her an email like reaming her out, and then she's like, send money for a new fridge, and it's like can't make this shit up. Like that's kind of how everything is presented in the book, and you're like, damn, like why is it funny though? Like not laughing at her, but just like kind of in retrospect, now that like her mother has passed and moving beyond it, like maybe looking at it through that lens, like why is it so funny? But definitely well written, both of them extremely well written. Both really made me value my mom and the way I was raised, and just like I wanted my mom to also read these, and like we talk about it, like the mother-daughter relationships and the things the two women went through, having to deal with your mother having cancer and dealing with like being a Korean American and the cultural impact of like when your mother's gone, or having your mother have cancer and then her use it against you emotionally. Like that's super weird. Just dealing with all of the different layers that like somebody in your family having cancer like brings to the table. It's just really interesting to see these two books, these two mother-daughter relationships, these two dealings with cancer, and these two individual stories. Super interesting. I highly recommend both of these. I think they will make you value your moms potentially. I mean, if you have a relationship with your mom, you might look at it a different way, but if not, that's okay too. Like family is what you choose. But definitely interesting stories. I also want to say I really appreciate that both women were vulnerable enough to share their stories with the public, and that I appreciate it because I feel like it takes guts on some level to put yourself out there like that for commentary and just listening to people's critiques and stuff. Like I think that has to be so tough. So I also just like appreciate these two women sharing their stories with us. Makes me appreciate my mom. I appreciate these women. Definitely read. Coffee break. If I like, am I even making a YouTube video if I don't have coffee with me? Right? And it's like, I don't even have a watch on. It's like, oh wow, I thought it was like 4 in the afternoon. It's like 2. If that wasn't stream of consciousness enough for you, and I probably skipped a lot of important bits to say about like what the books had in them and like the journeys the women went on, but I clearly am not a good spoiler-free reviewer. Let's talk spoilers instead. So we'll start with Crying in H Mart because that's the one I read longer ago, and I feel like I have to get everything out of my brain before I forget it. So with Crying in H Mart, there is more about being Korean American and the cultural impact. I don't know if that's like the right phrase, but how Michelle Zauner feels as a Korean American woman, like losing her mother to cancer young, and her mother's Korean but her dad is white, and like what that feeling is like feeling not connected to Korea anymore. And it talks a lot about food. It talks a lot about food to the point where it was almost jarring to me, the like depictions of her mother being sick with cancer, and then like suddenly there's like flipping these all over. Suddenly there's like, we're making food and everything is like delicious. And I'm like, okay, so I'm crying, but now we're making food that sounds delicious and like I want it. It was just like jarring. There was a lot of like that's not all I remember from the book, but like it kind of felt like afterward all I remembered from the book was that like really graphic depictions of dealing with somebody who has cancer and then like making delicious food that I want to eat and try someday. So like it was kind of an emotional roller coaster. But the one scene that I like can't get over is her mother's either like really sick or she has just passed, and Michelle has to like pick her up to like dress her, and like if you imagine somebody laying down and like trying to pick them up from around their back, and she talks about like the way her head like kind of lolls to the side or like rolls, and I just, oh man, I was like already kind of losing it and already crying a lot, and like the way she writes it, it's like, whew, It is heavy. Very, very well written. But it's also like extremely sad. Like, am I gonna get teary-eyed talking about it? Because like I feel a little verklempt. Because she talks about like the way there's like a part where like her dad is potentially talking to somebody else, and her mom's friend saying something like, well, he'll probably marry another Asian woman. And like that seemed kind of jarring. Like, what was it, just about her being Asian? Like, I don't think it was, but like the way it's written, it's like it doesn't seem like he's super like supportive in the whole thing. You know, and I did read it a while ago, but like that's the bit I remember. And so I remember being like, well, he's no help. You know what I mean? Like I kind of read it like he's no help, you know. And I just like, I will say, wow, I cannot believe I'm still getting a little emotional over this book, because it just makes me think about my mom. And she just lives far away, and like she's fine. She's, you know, she's not like, she doesn't have cancer. She's younger. I mean, but she's older than the mom was in this book. So, you know, you just think about that, and you think about the time you have left, and you want to capitalize on the time you have left and experience everything you can experience with your mom. And for me, my mom is like my best friend. I know, I'm so cool. Oh my God. It just made me think about her a lot, and it just made me think about like how I would deal with that if she were to pass. Given that I'm getting verklempt, I read this book like months ago, I would say not well. So that's what I'm talking about when I say really think about it. Like, be mentally prepared to enter this space when you read this book. Like, you are going to need tissues. You are 100% going to cry. I don't know. I can't say it enough. Is it still worth it? Yes, but it's still like, I feel like that TikTok that's like emotional damage. Like, that's what it's like. So, and I'm missing a big chunk of like, and especially because it doesn't necessarily apply to me, like the aspect of, I can't even imagine like missing that like cooking Korean food with your mother, or like going shopping in H Mart, like crying in H Mart, not being able to like make something your mother made in the same way she made it. Like, I can vaguely relate to that because, I mean, like, this is not even the same at all, but like my grandmother has passed, and there was like a particular like roll that she made, and it's like you can try, but you're not going to be able to replicate. And it's just that same feeling that you will never have that again. You'll never have that person. You'll never have those relationships. You'll never have those interactions. Oh my God, like, this is devastating to talk about. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. Yikes. Oh my God, dear jerkers. Okay, I don't even want to talk about this one anymore because I'm like getting really sad, but I would say this book is 100% worth it to read. This one makes me really appreciate my mom, and it does touch on like a little bit of that, like a mother who's a perfectionist, a mother who's thinking 10 steps ahead, a mother who's probably like, I think when you're a teenager, it's a mother who's super annoying, super helicopter, super like in your face all the time, in your business all the time. But like as you get older and you realize like how lucky you are to have a mom like that, you just appreciate it. You don't want to take it for granted, and you just want to appreciate what they've done for you. So I would say 100% worth it. Tearjerker. I'm getting verklempt talking about it. Getting a little teary-eyed. So definitely check this out, but be in the right headspace. You will cry. 100%. You will cry. Okay. I'm glad my mom died. I don't even... Oof. This book, like... Okay, I'm like, I don't want to give like a bajillion spoilers, but like I gotta talk about some specific scenes. So Jennette McCurdy, if people don't know, iCarly on Nickelodeon, that was like her main show that I think people would remember her from. I'm not saying she didn't do other stuff, but like that's the main thing that people remember her from. Then Sam and Cat with Ariana Grande. And it talks about like getting to that journey of being the child actress on those shows. And she was doing a lot of auditions before that. But before we even get there, the book talks about the emotional state of her household, which like isn't great. I mean, we're talking hoarder, and I think the hoarding might have come from her mother's first diagnosis with cancer. But I can't remember if the hoarding was there first. But there was definitely, like, hoarding as a young child. Like, not her, but, like, in her household. To the point where they all slept on, like, mats in the living room. And you're like, damn. Like, okay, we're not starting out great. It's not just the childhood actor thing. It's not just that like led to all this other stuff. It's like we from the get-go, we got problems at home. And also like hyper religion. Oh my god, I can't, like, hyper religious. That's also tough to read about, but it's just like it just contributes to this like whole environment in the house. It's interesting to read like how Jennette viewed religion at the time, and like maybe as an aspect of like, I can control this, I can get to church on Sundays, this is what we need to do, and this will make everybody feel better. And like, you know, you kind of see like that having to control things from a young age, like that makes you feel organized, that makes you feel in control, like having a goal, like getting to the church on time. And not that they always did, and eventually it fell off, but just seeing her experience with it was super interesting. And then seeing like the hoarding and the cancer and the way the family dealt with that, interesting. Then we get into Nickelodeon, and it's like, okay, now this is where the eating disorder stuff starts. Because, you know, Jennette starts to develop, like, as you do as like a teenage girl, your body changes. And because she like starts to develop, it's like almost seen as like, uh-oh, now I'm not gonna get jobs, so like we gotta simmer this down. So that's like when calorie cutting starts. Her mom's like, well, let me show you how to do this. And it's like, oh, now we're getting into this stuff, right? And it goes through kind of in detail, like how the eating disorders developed over time. Like first it's anorexia and calorie cutting and monitoring and not eating, and then it's like develops into like more bulimia and binge eating and purging and things. And then all the while we're like, the mom is having cancer, remission cancer, and using that cancer sort of as like an emotional abuse, like kind of to get her way a lot of times. Or like, you know, in a studio with like Jennette, the mom like slips in the, I have cancer, you know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, like this lady knows no bounds, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, you feel bad because she has cancer, but at the same time it's like, yikes, like should you use it like that? That's kind of, I mean, you know, yikes. So it talks about those details, and then it kind of talks about like Jennette trying to get out of there. And you see where it starts, because there's like one little scene you pick up on it with the grandmother who says something like kind of like shitty about where Jennette lives. The grandmother was like saying a thing, getting worked up, crocodile tears. Jennette like uses her diffuser powers because, you know, as a child of emotional abuse, she learns to use her diffuser powers and like spin the story or make it sound however she needs to make it to sound to like get the crocodile tears to turn off. And then the grandmother just like flips a switch and it's like, oh, well, that's okay then. It's like, oh, okay. The one scene that I cannot get out of my mind, she's on a plane. I don't even remember where she's going, but she's up in town to the bathroom like several times, a few times. And she goes in there to throw up, and her tooth comes out. Like, she vomits up a tooth. Her tooth comes out because at this point, she's been binging and purging so much that she's losing her teeth. And I'm like, oh, that, I won't forget that scene. What's great about this book, I think, is when she wrote it. And I mean, like, sorry for that transition. It's just like, it's a rough scene. You get it. She's rock bottom. I guess nowhere to go from here. Oh my God. Not to mention the, like, the relationships that she had with men. I don't know, Jennette, what are you doing? Come on. But like, yikes, you know, but she gets it. She wrote it, you know. Yeah, the thing I like about when she wrote the book, and this is like people's biggest critique, which I'm also like, mind your business, because it's like, it's literally her life story and she can choose to write when she wants to write it. I would love for her to write another book later because I do think she's like funny and I love the way she wrote it and I love her presentation. I love everything about this book. Like, she's not that far into recovery. I mean, if you look at the first part of her life leading up to her mom passing from cancer, which she goes through in the book, how far we are removed from her mom passing of cancer is not that long of an amount of time to deal with all of the emotional abuse that she dealt with from her mom and, you know, her family, and talk about a dad being no help in this situation and everything. And there's like, this is the timeline of, you know, her mom and emotional abuse and everything. And like, this is the other timeline of like how far removed we are from that. It doesn't seem like it's that much time. And recovery takes time, not only from, you know, eating disorders, but emotional recovery from emotional abuse takes time. And so for Jennette to be able to write this and share it with us now, I mean, that is amazing, and like kudos, and I hope that her recovery from everything continues to go well. I mean, I know it will have ups and downs, like recovery from anything will, but I hope that she continues to like hold strong and do what she needs to do, and continues to go to whatever therapy she goes to, because I just think that, man, she deserves everything. She deserves to get better, just like so many people who are emotionally or physically abused or deal with eating disorders, like just like anybody deserves to get better. She deserves to get better, and I just feel that I really, really can't believe she was able to be so, I don't know, like insightful looking back on her relationship with her mom, and just kind of present it to us and be vulnerable enough to do that and just share it with us like at this stage in her life. I think that's amazing. And so I feel like people on the internet say things like, oh, well, there's not enough about her recovery. And I'm like, she's not recovered. Like, you don't just have emotional abuse for that long in your life and then you go, oh, well, like that person's gone, so I'm better now. Like, that's not how it works. You develop lifelong patterns. If you develop a lifelong pattern from emotional abuse, how would it not also take a lifelong to get out of those same patterns, right? Like, it would take an equivalent amount of time, if not more, to get out of the patterns and the bad habits of, even if it's just telling yourself like, oh, you're stupid or something like that, to get out of those patterns, it takes an equivalent, if not a longer amount of time. And so for me, I'm like, wow, for her to like take these strides in recovery and be able to present this book to us, like, I am just like flabbergasted that she was able to do that. So to the people who think there's not enough about recovery in here, mind your biz. Quite frankly, because I thought this book was so well done. There's a little bit about recovery, but like, I don't think she's done yet. So how can we see that part? I will say I've seen some interviews with her about this, and she's fantastic. She's so well spoken. Even if just writing this book was a way of her working through everything, I cannot believe she chose to share it with the entire world. And I appreciate that. This book is 5 out of 5 stars, 100%. Definitely some graphic scenes in there about eating disorders, definitely emotional abuse in there, and just dealing with a relative of cancer. I would say the cancer is kind of the afterthought in this book. Like, it's obviously important because her mom does kind of use it to as emotional abuse or like a guilt system in this book. Nowhere near the graphic depictions of like dealing with a relative with cancer and like caregiving and everything that like Crying in H Mart deals with. This person obviously had a different relationship with their mother than this person, but I think reading them, and honestly I kind of read them side by side, very interesting to read these two depictions of mother-daughter relationships. I don't know that I've said enough, but I do think I've shared as much as I can on these books. I think they are both worth the read. I think that I'm so grateful that people are willing to share their stories like this, and I can't express that enough to the authors, as just like a big thank you, because I feel like I learned a lot from them. I feel like I value my mother more because of them. And, you know, maybe I don't value her more than I ever did, but like, you know, it's just a reminder to me to not take my mom for granted and be grateful for what I have. So 100% recommend. Go check them out. Crying in H Mart, and I'm glad my mom died. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. Thanks for watching my channel. I have other videos. Have to record a book of the month unboxing for November and December because I'm so well organized. I'm on social media. Yes, I am. I'm going to read a list because I'm never good at this part. I am on TikTok, Goodreads, Litsy, Instagram, and Twitter. And I have a blog. The blog is Coffee, Read, Sleep, Repeat. I don't put stuff there a lot. I'm not posting a lot. I gotta get to it. Gotta get back to it. But, I don't know, check that stuff out, I guess. And I'm going to do those unboxings for Book of the Month for November and December. It's almost January. It's fine. Everything's fine. Go read these books and cry your eyes out, okay? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. You're great. Stay cool. Talk to you later.